I was reborn on the day he confessed his love to me. The school bully suddenly stopped and stared at me with wide eyes. I immediately realized that my husband had been reborn with me as well. He let out a cold laugh and then turned to confess his love to the campus belle beside me. I rolled my eyes and turned to stare at the campus heartthrob whom I hadn't seen for 50 or 60 years. I really still prefer this type. 1. Before being reborn, I was still arguing with Xie Qingyuan. At his 80th birthday banquet, our granddaughter found a group photo from my old wallet. Comparing it with him, she said, "Grandpa, you were so gentle when you were young." I didn't say anything, and Xie Qingyuan smiled. The person in the photo wasn't him at all. We started arguing as soon as we were alone at night. "Jiang Yujing, if you don't want to live together, then don't. Fine, we'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. Whoever doesn't go this time is a dog." Such conversations had occurred hundreds of times during the duration of our marriage as an old couple, only this time was different. In the middle of the night, I suddenly felt like I couldn't breathe. Before I could wake Xie Qingyuan up, I passed out. When I opened my eyes again, the young Xie Qingyuan was standing right in front of me. The surrounding were my high school classmates, having a party in a KTV. There was also a cake on the table. What was going on? Xie Qingyuan stopped halfway through his words, and his expression suddenly changed. He stared at me in disbelief. With just one look, we both understood that we had been reborn together. This was the day when he confessed his love to me at the age of 17. Coincidentally, just before this, I had been brutally rejected by my crush. On a whim, I agreed to Xie Qingyuan's confession and even forcefully kissed him. And it was right in front of my crush. It was a long time later that I found out that this day was actually when Xie Qingyuan lost a game of truth or dare. It was understandable. After all, I was ordinary in high school, with big black-rimmed glasses, thick bangs, and braces. I only wore my school uniform jacket or short sleeves. Although Xie Qingyuan fooled around all day and didn't study well, he was good-looking and tall, which made him popular with girls. He was a well-known figure in school. It would be unreasonable if he really liked me. Sure enough, this guy closed his mouth, let out a cold laugh, and then turned to confess his love to the campus belle sitting next to me. I also let out a cold laugh, taking advantage of holding a wine glass. I carefully peeked at today's birthday boy, my childhood friend, Nan Baiyu, whom I had been secretly in love with for 10 years. Great, now we really can't stay together. It's even better this way. Saving us the trouble of going to the Civil Affairs Bureau, it must be that the heavens pitted us, a pair of quarrelsome old couple, and gave us a chance to find new good partners. Right now, we should still focus on our studies, the campus belle said with a bashful look and lowered her head. But if it's you, Xie, I think we can give it a try first. Xie Qingyuan was taken aback and exchanged a glance with me. I saw him smile and say to the campus belle, "Okay, fine, great, couldn't be better." I gritted my teeth in anger because Xie Qingyuan had taken the lead before me. I secretly clenched my fists and decided to chase after Nan Baiyu. The next day, the school officially started the summer vacation. I invited Nan Baiyu 3 times, but he refused me each time. The 4th time, the more I thought about it while lying in bed, the angrier I got. In the middle of the night, I climbed over to his house next door and knocked on his window. He wasn't asleep either. Seeing that I wouldn't give up until I achieved my goal, he could only open the window with a helpless expression. I pushed aside the vines and stuck my face in. "Nan Baiyu, you can't stop playing with me just because I like you." He was drinking water and choked on my words. He turned his head awkwardly and tried to defend himself. "I really need to do some tutoring. I don't have time, but I asked your younger brother, and he said you don't have any classes on Sundays." I pouted and said sadly, "Are you going to break off our friendship?" Nan Baiyu's eyes flickered slightly. He lowered his head and looked at me quietly for a while. I felt itchy as the green leaves rubbed against my neck. After a long while, he compromised. "Okay, see you tomorrow." I immediately turned from sad to happy and cheered, "Yay, then I'll wait for you at the entrance of the community at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning." This date with Nan Baiyu was very important to me. After graduating from high school, his family moved away, and I lost all contact with him. I couldn't even get any news about him. Nan Baiyu was like a dream from my youth, a regretful yet beautiful and illusory memory. I took off my braces and glasses and started learning how to dress myself up. When I was bathed in the praise of those around me, I often thought of him. He had never seen me when I was beautiful. The next day, I carefully got myself ready. I put on the little white dress I had prepared long ago and sprayed on a light white tea perfume. When I saw Nan Baiyu approaching from a distance, I stood beside the fountain, letting the sunlight shine on the more beautiful side of my face. The wind also blew just right. I tucked the hair beside my ear behind it and smiled at him with my lips pursed. I was satisfied to see the word amazed in his eyes. However, my good mood only lasted until we reached the entrance of the shopping mall. After discovering Xie Qingyuan and the campus bell, I came to an abrupt stop and tried to drag Nan Baiyu away, but it was still a step too late. Yujing, Baiyu, what a coincidence. The campus bell smiled and came over. I couldn't believe it when I saw you just now. Yujing, you look really beautiful today. I forced a smile. Haha, no, not really. Well, if there's nothing else, the campus bell grabbed my sleeve. Since we've met, let's have lunch together. Li Yanran winked at me. I realized that she might have had a quarrel with Xie Qingyuan and didn't want to be alone with him. Sister, your smooth road is blocked, but don't ruin my single plank bridge. I looked at Nan Baiyu, and he said it was okay. I glanced at Xie Qingyuan, and he said he would listen to Li Yanran. What else could I do? I had to compromise. We met 4 or 5 more good classmates in the shopping mall. In the end, our beautiful date for 2 turned into a big gathering of classmates. However, things could always get worse, not just bad. In the elevator, did you take your medicine? Xie Qingyuan glanced at my neck. I was bitten by a bug among the vines yesterday, and there were hives on it. I was speechless. Of course I did. Do I look like an idiot? It's hard to say. You once. I coughed loudly, and Xie Qingyuan shut up. At the dining table, I was quick-handed and scalded a pair of bowls and chopsticks for Xie Qingyuan. Everyone around fell silent at the same time. I calmly scalded the bowls and chopsticks of the others as well. Xie Qingyuan peeled a shrimp and, by accident, threw it into my bowl. He paused for a moment and then calmly picked it back up. After walking out of the restaurant, Xie Qingyuan suddenly rummaged through his pockets. Hiss, wife, have you seen my phone? I immediately rummaged through my bag as well. It's not with me. Everyone stopped in their tracks. I lowered my head inch by inch, wishing I could crawl into the ground in front of me. Damn it, if I could do it all over again, I would rather die than submit. 2. The hateful Xie Qingyuan held back his laughter and ruffled my hair. Everyone has gone downstairs. What are you still squatting for? Oh, these tiles are really exquisitely laid, fitting together perfectly. The smooth floor reflected my blushing face. 3. Yujing, are you really secretly married to the handsome Xia? I spat out a mouthful of salt soda. A random passerby suddenly popped up on my left and enthusiastically added, no, do those who spread rumors have any common sense? They're not even old enough to get married legally yet. I wiped my mouth and nodded in great agreement. This guy continued, they're clearly betrothed since childhood. Stop, a passerby passionately joined in. No, what I heard was that she's a child bride. I roared. I said stop. After a summer vacation of fermentation, the gossip about us two had evolved to an unbearable degree, but it didn't matter. We would deal with whatever came our way. Xie Qingyuan and I were determined to go our separate ways for the rest of our lives. I found a small megaphone beside the track. I do have a deep relationship with Xie Qingyuan. Oh, I smiled enigmatically and continued, there was almost one less person in my household registration book because of him. We are sworn enemies. Everyone was stunned. So, all the rumored ambiguous stories about me and him that you've heard are false. I didn't tell all lies. Back then, Xie Qingyuan had an accident on the way to pick me up from work. I was in a relatively good condition, but Xie Qingyuan fainted on the spot. After the examination, the doctor showed me the report and told me not to worry, that the baby was fine. What baby? Where did the baby come from? What did he mean that I almost lost both my life and the baby's? Fortunately, your husband reacted in time and turned the steering wheel towards you, otherwise, it would have been hard to say, the doctor said. However, Xie Qingyuan suffered a craniocerebral injury and was left with the problem of his arm occasionally trembling. It had to be his hand, and he was a painter. That night, I stayed by his hospital bed and called my parents, saying that I might get married. Over the years, I have been very grateful to him, but there was only family affection between us, not love. Because we both had other people in our hearts, we were together just because of the right timing. 2 puppies soaked in the rain decided to walk together. One day, a friend of Xie Qingyuan's asked me to pick him up. He was drunk for some unknown reason. He hugged me and mistook me for his friend. I really like her so much. This was the first time I heard him speak in such a regretful and aggrieved tone. I couldn't help but ask, who? In front of everyone. Xie Qingyuan opened his eyes and looked at me. He pressed his forehead against mine and smiled. It's definitely not you. There was a portrait in the safe in his study. I lifted the cover and saw half of it. The girl in the painting was wearing a princess dress with a huge skirt. I quietly put the cover back down. I had never worn such a dress, not even a similar wedding dress. Because we only got the marriage certificate and didn't have a wedding, no matter how grudging I was about something. As long as there was enough time, there would always come a day when I would let it go. When I was young and inexperienced, I also thought that a marriage without love was pitiful. However, in the mundane world, there aren't that many earth-shattering love stories. In the bits and pieces of daily life with trivial matters like firewood, rice, oil, and salt, it turned out that family affection was more important. It was enough that we were important to each other. As for whether we were the most important, let's stop there. I had always wondered who the person he liked was, and now I could more or less guess. It should be Li Yanran. I even guessed that it was because the lights in the KTV were too dim, and Li Yanran and I were sitting too close together. He mistook me for her for a moment and ended up making the wrong choice for a lifetime. Xie Qingyuan was proud yet timid. I'm afraid that the moment he confessed during the truth or dare game had already used up all his courage. How could he have the strength to correct his mistake? Xie Qingyuan came to the class with a stern face and asked me to meet him in the art room after school. After spending the whole morning explaining to everyone in detail to deepen the impression that Xie Qingyuan and I were at odds, when I returned to my seat, someone actually asked me if I was going to have a fight and if I needed any help. I was quite pleased. You said you would help me chase Li Yanran. How are you going to do it? You also said you would help me chase Nan Baiyu. Do you have any ideas? We saw contempt in each other's eyes. Neither of us had any experience in chasing someone, so we had to turn to Baidu for help. It says here that the first step in pursuing someone is to express your feelings to the other person. And the most romantic and innocent way to confess is writing a love letter. Xie Qingyuan was puzzled. We've already confessed. Do we still need to write a love letter? I was confused. Well, how about we write one? Following the problem-solving steps shouldn't be wrong. So, we sat facing a piece of white paper for half an hour each. Xie Qingyuan threw the paper away. TSK, I can't write it. It's too mushy. I was interrupted from my meditation and looked up. The transparent dust in the art room was floating and drifting in the evening sun. Xie Qingyuan twirled a pen in one hand and rubbed the back of his neck with the other hand freely. There was a circle of fine fluff on his neck, making him look warm and bright. My partner, my old friend. I sincerely hoped that he would get what he wanted. I said, Xie Qingyuan, we've been given a second chance. Be brave this time. He looked up, and his amber eyes stared straight at me. I will, then. He thought for a moment and started writing smoothly. As for me, I still had no clue. Looking at the words on his paper from a distance, I suddenly felt a little annoyed. Yujing, my deskmate, Li Yanran, poked me. I raised my head from the sea of problems. What's up? Humph. I don't know where Xie Qingyuan copied a love letter from. It doesn't make any sense and has nothing to do with me at all. Look. I took it with confusion. Aren't love letters all about similar sweet words? What kind of writing style is it when it doesn't make any sense? After reading just a few sentences, my brain completely froze. What are you looking at? Your face is so red. Xie Qingyuan suddenly appeared and asked me softly above my head. I'm reading a porn book. Don't bother me. I clumsily covered the table with a book, feeling that my ears were starting to get hot. That's right. Xie Qingyuan must have copied it from somewhere else. Don't be too narcissistic. He wrote like this: I like you, not just in the time that hasn't happened yet, not just in the time when you're looking at someone else, not just at this moment, not just in the future. I have so many words that I haven't said yet. I really want to spend another lifetime telling you, while checking your white hair and wrinkles. I want to tell you frankly and passionately. However, I'm a coward and only dare to think secretly in places where you can't see. Xie Qingyuan knocked on my desk and leaned close to my ear, which was heating up, and said, what's the second step in pursuing someone again? 5. A passerby intervened and patted Xie Qingyuan on the shoulder. Student Xie, school bullying is a very despicable behavior. Then, Xie Qingyuan was chased out with a look of disbelief on his face. 6. Li Yanran had a knowing smile on her face beside me. I covered my ears and thought calmly that something seemed wrong. I couldn't figure it out. I might as well do some exercises first. Conic sections were still easy to understand. This so-called time travel couldn't possibly break my myth of being the top student in high school for 3 consecutive years. Yes, I had a huge sense of pride. Xie Qinyuan asked me to tutor him in his studies. With him, I now had 3 apprentices. The other 2 were Li Yanran and the class monitor sitting behind me. The second step in pursuing someone was to create close contact. Every Saturday and Sunday, the 4 of us, master and apprentices, would find a coffee shop in the city center and have tutoring sessions away from others. While the class monitor was going to the restroom, I casually asked Xie Qinyuan, "Did you really write that love letter yourself?" Xie Qinyuan turned his head awkwardly. "Well, I borrowed a complete collection of love letters from the library and just randomly flipped to a page and copied it." Thud, Li Yanran kicked Xie Qinyuan hard under the table. I turned my head to the side and pretended not to notice. I lowered my head and said, "Oh," in a flat tone. Which high school library would have a complete collection of love letters? The class monitor sat down and said, "The autumn sports meeting will be held in a few days, Yanran. We might still have to trouble you to hold the class sign." In a flash, the portrait in Xie Qinyuan's safe suddenly flashed through my mind. I remembered that princess dress was the one Li Yanran wore at this autumn sports meeting. Xie Qinyuan, without a care for his own safety, handed over the test paper. "I think I can score over 100 this time." I glanced at it. "What kind of fancy font is this? Write it in Hengshui style for me." "Rewrite it." Xie Qinyuan followed me all the way. Seeing that we were almost at the community, I couldn't help but shoo him away. "Why haven't you gone back yet?" He looked upright. "I'm on the way. Sometimes I really want to open his head and see what's inside. Don't I know where his home is?" Suddenly, his face changed. I followed his gaze and saw Nanbaiyu. "You're in a hurry to get rid of me so you can go find Nanbaiyu." "I won't stop you." Xie Qinyuan. The number 1 in not learning from his mistakes, me. The number 1 in handling arrogance. I took a few steps back and watched as his face gradually turned sour. "Do you want me to go to him? I'll listen to you. Then, yes or no?" Xie Qinyuan gritted his teeth. "No." I covered his mouth. "Don't say it. I'm just afraid you don't even understand it yourself. The best way to deal with someone who is stubborn and won't admit the truth is not to force him to say it, but to make him hold it back when he finally makes up his mind." Xie Qinyuan successfully walked me to my doorstep. After saying goodbye, he finally couldn't help but ask, "You said you'd listen to me. Does that mean you won't chase Nanbaiyu anymore?" I looked at his back that was trying to hide his true feelings with candor. "Yeah, I won't chase him for now. If I myself am still wavering, I will never do the thing of pestering others." I thought that the position of Nanbaiyu in my heart, after 50 years of self-hypnosis like a fit of pique, had long become an unbreakable white moonlight. Unexpectedly, it was so easily shaken by just a few words from a coward. 7. "So why were you suddenly angry yesterday?" I motioned for Xie Qinyuan to lean in and whispered word by word. "I won't say. This is called fighting violence with violence. It's definitely not because I'm stubborn too." 8. Yanran. "The person who makes clothes is in the office and is asking you to go and get measured." Li Yanran was lying on the desk, writing her homework furiously. She freed one hand and patted me. "Yujing, your figure is similar to mine. Go and get measured for me." I didn't suspect anything and got up and went. Nanbaiyu was also in the office getting measured. Following the tailor's instructions one by one, he spread his arms and stood still. His jade-like profile and elegant figure made him look extremely obedient. When he cast his gaze towards me, I just nodded as a greeting, walked to the side and waited. Not saying anything more, he was taken aback and silently retracted his gaze. An inexplicably awkward atmosphere spread in the office. I silently stared at the star Ken on the office desk, lost in thought. Because we lived close by and were of similar age, I had been acquainted with Nanbaiyu since I was still wetting the bed. My parents were very busy with work and often left me alone at home. I often carried a small stool and knocked on his window. He was a person very different from me and Xie Qinyuan. Even when we were in our old age, we were still childish and impulsive. Nanbaiyu, on the other hand, had been quiet and reliable since childhood. I liked the faint scent of medicine on him, the gentle voice when he read me bedtime stories, and the gentle gaze I would meet when I turned around and saw him looking at me. Origami stars were popular in our primary school class. I clumsily folded my first star, although it was crooked. I wanted to give it to Nanbaiyu, but his desk was already piled high with many delicate and colorful little stars given by others. I retracted my hand. At that time, I thought that everyone liked him. and I didn't want to be one of the many. A week later, my parents went on a business trip and left me alone at home for the night. The thunder that was so close woke me up. Outside the window, it was as dark as ink. The basin overturned, and the lightning illuminated this empty and silent home and me, who was holding the quilt and didn't dare to make a sound. I reached out to touch the light switch, but there was a power outage. Nan Bayu knocked on my door at this time, holding a small umbrella and earmuffs, to coax me to sleep. When I was sound asleep, he whispered, "Wait for me a moment." I fought off my sleepiness and waited for him, half asleep and half awake. I saw Nan Bayu place a glass jar filled with paper stars on my bedside. "You looked at those stars for a long time that day, you should really like them." The small lights around the jar flickered, and it was as if the stars were looking at me. So many people looked at it, but it was looking at me alone. I hugged it and slipped into the quilt. "Don't be afraid," he stroked my head, "the stars will always be by your side." I don't know when it started, but Nan Bayu gradually distanced himself from me. I no longer saw him every time I turned around, and I no longer waited for the person who would come and coax me to sleep in the pouring rain on a stormy night. Out of an eagerness to hold on to him, I confessed my love to him and was rejected. Later, I got together with Xie Qingyuan, and I drifted further and further away from Nan Bayu. He didn't say goodbye to me on the day he moved. It rained all night. When I opened the window the next morning, I found a paper star on the windowsill that had been soaked by the rain, and ink marks could be seen inside. I carefully unfolded it and saw a sentence written on it: "Let's forget each other." 9. I walked out of the office and found Nan Bayu waiting for me outside. "Yujing, recently you..." He pursed his lips and didn't say anything more. I knew he wanted to ask why I had been so cold to him recently. I asked him in return, "Do you consider me a friend? If so, why did you leave without saying goodbye and cut off all contact?" I didn't say anything more either. Jian Yujing at the age of 18 had been eager to know the answer to this question, but Jian Yujing at the age of 80 had already let it go. Perhaps I just wanted to meet him again and know that he was all right, that's all. He lowered his eyes. "I'm sorry, I just didn't want to trouble you. As a friend, I didn't do a good job in many aspects. It doesn't matter." I heard Jian Yujing at the age of 18 say, "I accept your apology." Strangely, in my memory, it was Xie Qingyuan who held the flag for our class this time. Surely Xie Qingyuan liked Li Yanran at that time and used some means to replace Nan Bayu, with their two ostentatious faces standing in our class, one wearing a princess dress and the other wearing a knight's uniform. At first glance, they looked like a newlywed couple and attracted a lot of attention. I stood at the back of the line and could occasionally hear some words of admiration from the crowd. "They're so well matched." Xie Qingyuan looked back from a distance and raised his eyebrows at me proudly, with the words written all over his face. "Your boyfriend is handsome, right, Sai, who wasn't a playboy who dreamed of having the best of both worlds when they were young?" My hands itch. I have to go and beat him up right now. In front of many classmates, I completed this act of campus violence. And Xie Qingyuan dared not speak out in anger. On the day of the autumn sports meeting, Li Yanran slipped away, and I was clearly set up, wearing a white and fluffy princess dress that I hadn't worn in 2 lifetimes. I stood at the entrance of the playground waiting for Nan Bayu. Just as our class was about to enter the field, a figure came running from afar. The knight's uniform outlined his waist. The badge on his shoulder was not as dazzling as his shining eyes. He ran all the way to me, bent over, and took a breath. Xie Qingyuan raised his head and held out his hand to me. "Let's go. Everyone is waiting for us." I walked in a daze for a while, and it was the class monitor who couldn't stand it anymore. "Bro, you were invited to hold the flag, not to hold the bride's hand and attend a wedding." We immediately pulled our hands apart at the same time and stood in formation, 1 meter apart. "Why is it you again? Who else did you expect?" I asked the class monitor why he invited him to hold the flag. "Well, Nan Bayu had something urgent to attend to at the last minute, and there was only this guy wandering around nearby. He also asked me if I needed help, so I let him do it," I said sarcastically, while classmate Xia is as warm-hearted as ever. "No," Xie Qingyuan interrupted, "this time, I just wanted to stand by your side. Today's sunlight was too intense, making people blush." Vaguely, some words came from the crowd. "They're so well matched, right? I've been shipping this love-hate couple for a long time. Come on, I'll add you to the group." I twitched the corners of my mouth. "Really, would you say anyone is well matched with Xie Qingyuan even if there was a dog standing next to him?" 10. I was correcting Xie Qingyuan's composition when he suddenly knocked on my head. "TSK, Sit up straight when you write. Xie Qingyuan frowned and lifted my chin that was almost touching the paper. I suspect that your later cervical spondylosis is related to your bad habits at this time. Oh no, he's taken the upper hand, I mumbled. Wordy old man. Xie Qingyuan's hand that was about to let go paused. He pinched my chin and shook it from side to side. Who's the wordy old man? There's only the most dashing old man here. I forced a smile. Okay, old man. 3 days later, Xie Qingyuan mysteriously asked me to meet him at the courier station. When I saw the standard shopping mall massage chair, my eyes went dark. Dang 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 dang. Early detection, early treatment. I specially chose the one with the most complete functions for you. What do you think? Do you like it? Where am I going to put it, bro? Put it in the dormitory. Later, I'll deliver it to your door. I pasted your payment code on it. When you're not using it, you can even let it earn some pocket money. Really, will anyone actually use it? No. Who's short of this little pocket money? There are too many things to snark about. Don't you like it? I retracted my wandering gaze and nodded. I like it. Xie Qingyuan smiled proudly and ticked it off in his plan book. The third step in pursuing someone, give the other person the most thoughtful gift. Fortunately, as a first-class high school, the dormitory has plenty of space, otherwise, it really wouldn't be able to handle it. Wow, so comfortable. How can you do this? You've already sat on it twice. Get up quickly, there are still people waiting in line. I received an Alipay notification of a payment late at night. I opened my eyes and silently wondered if opening a massage parlor in a national key high school could become a popular business opportunity. Xie Qingyuan, as expected of you, this was a free evening self-study session. I propped my head up and looked at Li Yanran, who took out her wrong question notebook and found something to do for herself. You're being Xie Qingyuan's wingman. Do you really not like him at all? Li Yanran put down the notebook and thought for a while. Do you think I'm pretty? She turned her face directly towards me. Her skin was as smooth as fat, and her features were delicate. I nodded affirmatively. Li Yanran pursed her lips and smiled. I don't have a talent for studying. My grades aren't as good as yours. And I'm not an art student like Xie Qingyuan. I really don't have the energy for a relationship. I want to stay beautiful all the time, and I also want a future that is calm and not controlled by my looks. Besides, Li Yanran winked playfully, not everyone treasures Xie Qingyuan as much as you do. I silently covered my face, vaguely. I remembered that someone in the class group said something about the campus belle from back then a long time after graduation. An insider said that they saw her in Los Angeles with a yacht and that she had even kept several foreign handsome guys whose looks were comparable to Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm envious. The back door was pushed open a crack. A student cadre who was on good terms with the class monitor whispered, "The school is going to search the dormitories." Before I could react, the class monitor behind me looked up in shock. Damn. What about my popcorn machine? Passerby A. My mahjong table. Passerby B. My firework tube. It seems that everyone has been going really wild in private. My massage chair is completely insignificant now. The problem is, I don't remember there being a dormitory inspection at all. Just as I was about to hurry and join the team going back to the dormitory to hide the evidence, I glanced at the date on the blackboard, and my scalp went numb. No wonder I hadn't seen Xie Qingyuan around me all day. How could I have forgotten this day? I opened my phone and saw that Xie Qingyuan had called me 9 times and sent more than a dozen messages an hour ago. The last message was, "I still don't dare to go alone." I took a deep breath and quickly grabbed a roommate. "I have something urgent and can't go back. Can you?" My roommate's eyes were determined. "Leave the massage chair to me." While calling Xie Qingyuan, I took the stairs 2 or 3 steps at a time. 11. At the company's 10th anniversary celebration, the reporter asked Xie Qingyuan, who was the boss, a few entertainment questions backstage. One of them was, if you could go back in time, what would be the thing you most wanted to do? The people around were all guessing whether it would be to buy a house in the capital or to make a fortune by shorting stocks before the bubble economy burst. After thinking about it, he gave an answer, "I want to become a brave person." Everyone laughed, and the reporter praised him for being cute. But I couldn't laugh. Xie Qingyuan's father died when he was 17. He didn't go to see him for the last time. Instead, he just sat in a bridge cave not far from the hospital in a daze. Out of humanitarianism, I accompanied him and endured the cold wind for an hour until the city lights went out. In the dark, he asked me very softly, "Is a child a bond between parents, or is it a chain?" His parents had a marriage without love, and each of them had their own family outside. Xie Qingyuan was an unwanted child, born at the center of interests and in the blind spot of love, so, he understood at a very young age that love was the thing in this world that was closest to a lie. It had to be exchanged for with tears and disproved with wounds. When he was a child, his grandfather told him the story of Ma Liang and his magic brush. Little Xie Qinyuan's eyes sparkled, and he fell in love with painting just like that. 2 years later, a master praised his sketches for their abundant vitality and his exceptional talent. However, little Xie Qinyuan was in a gloomy mood. His grandfather asked him what was wrong, and he said, "What on earth do I have to paint like to turn what I want into reality?" His grandfather said, "Whatever you want, Grandpa will buy it for you." Little Xie Qinyuan shook his head. He had asked for many things before, but he had never gotten them. As he grew older, he seemed to realize that earnestly conveying his wishes to others was an extremely dangerous act. His naive thoughts, childish requests, and urgent expectations would all turn into sharp blades stabbing at himself in the face of unfulfilled wishes. After hearing his grandfather's words, I made up my mind to make up for the lack of family affection he had experienced on behalf of Xie Qinyuan's parents and take care of him as if he were a child. However, I wasn't mature either. More often than not, we took care of and supported each other amidst our squabbles. We walked a very, very long path together like this. He was a coward who was even afraid of happiness and could get hurt even when touching cotton. He was also my most precious little hedgehog. And this little hedgehog was now blatantly exposing its soft belly in front of me. He knew that I wouldn't hurt him, never. Xie Qinyuan stood at the stairway. When he saw me coming down, he said, "Accompany me, wife." The class monitor jumped out from behind me, caught in the act. Passerby A, lovers in adultery. Passerby B, a harmonious union lasting 100 years. I pulled Xie Qinyuan and covered my face as we fled. "You old rascal, I told you not to shout like that." There was another family surrounding his father. Xie Qinyuan firmly held my hand, pushed through the crowd, and amidst their surprise and whispers, placed a bouquet of flowers wrapped in drawing paper. On the drawing paper was the most satisfying family portrait that little Xie Qinyuan had ever drawn. After walking out of the hospital, Xie Qinyuan seemed to be completely relieved. We leaned against the familiar bridge cave and felt the wind blowing until the city was illuminated by the moon. He said softly, "I want to confess something." I looked at him, thinking that it was probably about how he had likely Yenran in his previous life and later transferred his affection to me. He took me back to school and went to the art room. He lifted a covered painting. It was a portrait of me wearing black-rimmed glasses, with thick bangs, and in the princess dress with the huge skirt that I wore at the autumn sports meeting. His gaze was softer than the moonlight. "This is the second time I've painted this picture. The last time I stood in front of everyone with others and listened to their praises. I was thinking about how great it would be if the person by my side was you. Everyone would know what a well-matched couple we are, and you would know it too." I stared stupidly at this painting until Xie Qinyuan wiped away my tears. "You're the stupidest fool I've ever seen." I poked his chest and scolded him angrily. Extra story, about the things that Xie Qinyuan wouldn't confess. That day, Xie Qinyuan ran into Jiang Yujing confessing her love to the birthday celebrant in the corridor of the KTV. Forgive him for just being dragged along by his friends to join in the fun, and he didn't even remember the birthday celebrant's name at all. That little girl looked so delicate and small. How could she be so bold? Xie Qinyuan thought to himself. "I'm sorry, I don't want to be in a relationship right now." Jiang Yujing blocked Nan Baiyu and wouldn't let him leave. Nan Baiyu said helplessly, "I'm really sorry, whatever you want, I can compensate you for it." Jiang Yujing looked straight into Nan Baiyu's eyes frankly and straightforwardly. "I want us to make up. I want you to stop avoiding me and distancing yourself from me for no reason. Since you don't like me, then I want us to be good friends for a lifetime. Can you do that?" Nan Baiyu averted her gaze, and there was an awkward silence in the corridor. Xie Qinyuan even started to feel sorry for her. "I won't be sad," Jiang Yujing said with her neck stuck out, looking angry. "It was you who made the promise, and it's you who can't fulfill it. You should feel sorry for yourself." Xie Qinyuan was taken aback and poked his head out to take a look at Jiang Yujing. She pouted as if she was about to cry but still said she wasn't sad. Her chin was pointed, and her neck was thin and white, dazzlingly white. "Brother Xia lost. Hurry up. Someone come up with a tough idea." "I'll say it." Brother Xia should go to the girls' table and randomly pick someone to confess to. The bottle mouth turned towards him, and his train of thought was suddenly interrupted. Xie Qinyuan frowned. The others realized they had been drinking too much and started speaking without thinking, and they fell silent all of a sudden. Sorry, brother Xia, forget it. Xie Qingyuan stood up and confirmed with them, I lost it, truth or dare, and need to go over there and confess to someone, right? The one who started it nodded blankly. So Xie Qingyuan walked step by step towards Jiang Yujing, thinking, it's just because of the truth or dare, I can't spoil their fun. At most, I just want to get to know her a bit, or I just didn't see her eyes clearly just now, and I just want to see them clearly. With such thoughts in mind, Xie Qingyuan was able to blurt out that sentence very smoothly. Jiang Yujing looked at him in surprise. Remembering that Nan Baiyu was watching, she steeled herself and agreed to his confession. Xie Qingyuan was stunned. How could there be such a thing as getting a wife out of the blue? No, such an inexplicable thing. It was obvious at a glance that it was a truth or dare thing. His wife. No, Jiang Yujing even leaned in and kissed him. This time he saw clearly, her eyes were very beautiful, her lips were soft, and she smelled nice. He only had one thought, it's a pity that the woman I'm destined to be with doesn't like me. When Xie Qingyuan was 32 years old, he discovered Jiang Yujing's star jar and secretly used the connections of his family to help her inquire about Nan Baiyu's news. The result was very surprising. Nan Baiyu was diagnosed with a hereditary cerebral arterial disease in his first year of high school. There was no possibility of curing this disease. Once it flared up, he would only have 20 to 30 years of life left. In the later stages, there would be limb incoordination, and he would even have symptoms similar to Alzheimer's disease. Remembering Nan Baiyu, who suddenly fainted in the changing room on the day of the autumn sports meeting, Xie Qingyuan realized that this was the truth behind his leaving without saying goodbye. He put the information into the shredder. Rather than letting her be sad about her white moonlight ending up in such a situation, it would be better to let her think that Nan Baiyu was living a happy life, just having forgotten her. When Xie Qingyuan was 80 years old, he found that Jiang Yujing beside him had stopped breathing. He quietly took out sleeping pills from the bedside table. He only had one thought, it would be great if I could be with Jiang Yujing for another 60 years. When he opened his eyes, he actually really returned to more than 60 years ago. Xie Qingyuan was facing Li Yanran, and Jiang Yujing was looking at Nan Baiyu, but his eyes involuntarily glanced at Jiang Yujing's profile. I've liked you for a long time, very, very long. He blurted out this sentence again, in a place where Jiang Yujing couldn't see. Fine, we'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. Whoever doesn't go this time is a dog. However, in fact, their first encounter dates back even earlier, at the Second General Assembly in the first year of high school. Jiang Yujing, as the first in the midterm exam results, needed to go on stage to share her learning experience, and Xie Qingyuan, as the one with the most disciplinary violations, needed to go on stage to make a self-criticism. Jiang Yujing held a speech script in her hand, and Xie Qingyuan held breakfast in his hand. The two of them looked at each other. She looks dull and not very smart, but she's actually the top student in the grade. He looks fierce and hard to deal with. It's better to stay away from him. But in the end, they became the two people closest to each other, had a roughly consistent life path, and even death couldn't separate them. So it's a great pity that Jiang Yujing didn't get what she wished for. Story 2. I was born into a wealthy family, but against my family's wishes, I married Shinchen, a poor boy. In the second year of our marriage, my parents died unexpectedly. To inherit the vast fortune, Shinchen set fire to the villa, burning me and our child alive. Later, he used my money to marry his childhood sweetheart, bought her a house and a car, and even had beautiful twin children with her. By some mercy of fate, I was reborn. This time, I heeded my parents' advice and obediently married the partner they chose for me. Shinchen was completely dumbfounded. I died in a massive fire. To kill me, Shinchen lured me to a villa in the mountains. He kicked me in the stomach when I was 4 months pregnant. The pain was as sharp as ice-cold needles piercing through me. Clutching my belly, I slowly knelt down, watching as Shinchen used a lighter to ignite the curtains. The fire quickly became uncontrollable, engulfing the curtains and bookshelves, and thick smoke filled the air. Just then, he confessed to me. He had tampered with my parents' car, causing the brakes to fail and sending them rolling down a hillside. Curled up on the ground, my heart ached with anger. I asked him, why, Shinchen, my parents treated you like their own son. Why would you harm them? In a burst of rage, Shinchen yelled back, If they truly treated me like a son, would they secretly make a will with a lawyer, leaving all their property only to you? They were guarding against me, right? Well then, I might as well kill you all and take the money for myself. As the fire grew, I started coughing from the smoke, and blood seeped onto my white dress from between my legs. Shin-chan, even a beast wouldn't harm its own child. Your heart is so cruel, Shin-chan laughed maniacally. As for the child, once I inherit the fortune, there will be plenty of women to bear my children. I don't need the one in your belly. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to tell you, Man is also pregnant with my child. Man, his childhood sweetheart. At that moment, I lay on the ground, too pained to speak. He taunted me through the flames, wearing a hat and mask. Han Tang, go reunite with your parents below. That night, my body twisted and convulsed in agony in the fire, my screams of pain echoing through the mountains for a long time. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in my senior year of college. Today was the first anniversary of my relationship with Shin-chan. We were at a resort, celebrating with a few friends. The noisy music blared as everyone raised their glasses in high spirits. I suddenly caught my breath, staring at the familiar yet strange surroundings, stunned for a good 10 seconds. Until a tipsy Shin-chan wrapped his arm around my shoulder and said, Tang, I'm going to the restroom. I watched him stagger out the door. A minute later, Wan Man also left. Recalling my past life, Shin-chan had said Wan Man was pregnant with his child. Could it be that they were already together now? I decided to follow them and see for myself. Shin-chan and Wan Man entered the stairwell one after the other. I quietly approached and pushed open a small door crack, and immediately, sounds of passionate kissing filled the quiet hallway. Wan Man said sourly, did you really have to rush me out here so urgently? Aren't you afraid Han Tang will find out? Shin-chan, brimming with arrogance, declared, what's there to fear? She's dead set on marrying no one but me now. I've got her completely wrapped around my finger. Suppressing my disgust, I turned on my phone's camera. I crouched down, my hand close to the floor, and slowly slid the phone under the door to record their intense kissing. Afterwards, I gently closed the door and turned to leave. I ran to the bathroom, where I vomited several times, nearly bringing up bile. I washed my face with cold water to calm myself down. Looking at myself in the mirror, my skin was unscathed, showing no signs of burns, which stirred some excitement in me. I wasn't married to Shin-chan yet. There was still time to change things. I immediately called my parents. Hearing their voices, I couldn't help but choke up. After composing myself, I left the bathroom and bumped into someone around the corner of the hallway. The person quickly reached out to steady me. I hurriedly apologized. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. But as I looked up, I froze, tears uncontrollably streaming down my face. It was Fu Yan. I was relieved he was still alive. In a past life, as I lay dying, it was Fu Yan who had rushed into the inferno alone trying to save me. But the fire was too intense. And ultimately, he didn't make it out alive either. We perished together in the blaze. With his last breath, he regretfully whispered in my ear, Han Tang, if there is an afterlife, would you fall in love with me first? Fu Yan's voice, cool and subtle, asked, why are you crying? Realizing I had lost my composure, I quickly pulled my arm from his grasp and wiped my tears. Somewhat bewildered, I asked, what are you doing here? Fu Yan looked at me for a couple of seconds, then, adjusting his glasses, said, this resort belongs to me. Isn't it normal for me to be here? I noticed several men in suits behind him, each carrying a laptop bag. I said, then you must be busy. I won't disturb you. All right, Fu Yan responded coldly and then walked past me with his group. I stood there, watching his tall figure disappear into the crowd, so detached. Why was he so different from the person I knew in my past life? When I returned to the private room, everyone was playing Truth or Dare. Shin-chan and Wan Man had also returned. Wan Man casually came over and pulled me. Come on, Tang, join us. I looked at her lips, swollen from being kissed, clenched my teeth to suppress the urge to slap her. Shin-chan pulled me down next to him, his eyes full of concern. Where did you go? Why did it take you so long to come back? I was so worried. Shin-chan was really good at pretending. In a past life, I was deceived by his portrayal of a devoted lover. In front of me, he was always polite and extremely gentle. He had even risked his life to save me. I had always believed his love for me was genuine and never doubted him. Someone teased Wang Man, does your dorm have any other beautiful single girls like Han Tang? Introduce them to us too. Don't keep all your thoughts on Shin-chan, who can compare to Shin-chan. Everyone else just back off. Wow, childhood friends really are different, huh? You're already taking his side. One man was causing a scene, while Shinchin just laughed. They seemed to enjoy this thrilling feeling of flirting right in front of me. During the game, when the bottle pointed at Wang Man, I asked with a smile, Man, when was your last kiss? Wang Man's face immediately turned red. With an affected tone, she said, Ah, Tang, what are you talking about? I haven't even dated anyone yet. I still have my first kiss. She glanced at Shinchin. Besides, I'm not as lucky as you to have such an outstanding boyfriend like Shinchin, everyone around exclaimed with a wow. It turns out everyone noticed Wang Man's feelings for Shinchin. I held Wang Man's hand seriously and said, how about I let you have Shinchin? The smile on Wang Man's face froze, and she looked at me in astonishment. The bystanders were equally shocked, but the most flustered was Shinchin. He immediately hugged me guiltily. Tang, what are you talking about? I swear. You're the only one I want in my life. If I ever betray you, may lightning strike me. Seeing the cold sweat on his forehead, I suddenly laughed. I was just joking. Look how nervous you got. Being struck by lightning would be too easy on you. After a night of fun, everyone went back to their rooms, tired, having drunk a bit. My stomach was upset. After taking a shower, I called the front desk to ask for some stomach medicine. So, when the doorbell rang, I didn't think much of it and opened the door in my nightgown. Standing at the door, however, was Fu Yan. He wasn't wearing a jacket, only a black shirt with his tie not as neatly tied as before. His gaze dropping from my face to my chest, I looked down and saw my loosely fitting nightgown, almost as if it was intentionally seductive. I quickly turned and grabbed a blanket from the bed, wrapping it tightly around me. When I returned to the door, Fu Yan handed me a box of stomach medicine. I ran into the service staff in the elevator and brought it up for you. I held the medicine in my hand. Thank you. He didn't plan to stay, bidding me good night. As he was leaving, I couldn't help but call his name, Fu Yan. Actually, I was supposed to marry Fu Yan. But back then I was too rebellious, hating the restrictions set by my family and the arranged marriage they pushed on me. And Fu Yan was that arranged match. I even disliked him without really getting to know him. I ignored all the kindness he showed me. Fu Yan looked at me with a meaningful expression. What is it? I suddenly remembered what he whispered in my ear in a past life. Tang, if there is a next life, how about you fall for me first? I owed him a life, this time. I wanted to make it up to him properly. Seeing me silent, Fu Yan nodded. If there's nothing else, I'll leave. Fu Yan, do you still want me? He frowned. What did you say? My palms were sweaty with nervousness as I whispered, my breath tight. Fu Yan, I don't want to break off our engagement anymore. Will you still marry me? He lowered his gaze to me for a while, as if trying to bore a hole through my face with his stare. When a response didn't come, my tightly clenched fingers gradually loosened, my heart sinking into disappointment. I forced a smile and said, never mind then, good night. But just as the door was about to close, Fu Yan suddenly reached out and held the door frame. He pushed the door open again, and my heart leaped. Fu Yan's presence was cold and imposing as he said, Han Tang, what makes you think I, Fu Yan, would want someone who has a boyfriend, huh? His question caught me off guard. I had almost forgotten that. Having come back to life, I hadn't broken up with Shinchin yet, but how could I tell him that Shinchin and I were no longer possible, that I was just waiting for the right moment? His icy gaze fixed on me. Why aren't you speaking? Our eyes met, the surrounding atmosphere heavy enough to suffocate. I found myself unconsciously holding my breath. I tried to speak several times but didn't know how to explain. Eventually, I just looked down, defeated. I'm sorry, Fu Yan, I'm sorry. Sorry to him in my past life, and to him now. I felt cornered under his intense scrutiny, almost desperate to close the door, but Fu Yan pushed the door open forcefully, barging in, and pinned me against the wall as he kicked the door shut. He moved closer, his voice tense. Han Tang, I've been trying so hard to forget you. Why do you have to provoke me? Last life, I risked my life for you. How are you going to torment me in this life? He was also reborn. My eyes widened in shock as I stared at him. Almost at the same time, someone knocked on my room door. Shinchen's voice came from outside. Tang, are you in there? I heard some noises from your room. Are you alright? I had forgotten that Shinchen lived next door, and at that moment, I was pressed against the door by Fu Yan, just a door away from him. Shinchen's knocking grew more urgent. Tang, open the door. Fu Yan's lips pressed closer to mine, getting nearer. He pulled off the thin blanket from my shoulders, letting it fall to the floor, his palm pressed against the back of my head. Han Tang, I want you to prove to me now that you choose me, not him. With those words, he fiercely kissed me, his tongue forcing past my teeth, and I helplessly accepted. My wrists were tightly grasped by Fu Yan, held above my head. He possessed me with a resentful desire, frantically nibbling at my earlobe and lips until a taste of blood filled my mouth. I winced in pain. Then a hurried footstep approached from the doorway. Shinshin anxiously said, I'd been calling for a while and no one answered. I was worried something had happened to my girlfriend. Then the door lock clicked. As the room door was pushed open, Fu Yan swiftly draped the thin blanket over my shoulders. He pushed me forward, and I appeared at the door, panting, and Fu Yan, he hid behind the door. I saw Shin Chen and a female staff member standing at the doorway, staring at me with strange looks. Especially Shin Chen, his gaze fell on the front of my chest. I wrapped myself in a light blanket, trying to stay calm as I explained, I was just taking a shower. Shin Chen glanced at my damp hair, sighed with relief, and stammered, I thought something had happened to you. I was so scared. Tang. His speech slowed as he stared at my bitten lips, his expression changing slightly. What happened to your lips? Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Fu Yan, standing behind the door, touch his lips and then look at the blood on the back of his hand, smirking slightly. The awkward atmosphere prompted the staff to find an excuse to leave. Shin Chen's eyes swept over me and peered into the room, tentatively asking, Are you alone in the room? He even thought about coming in, but I stopped him. It's getting late, I'm tired, let's talk about this tomorrow. Good night. I coldly shut Shin Chen out of the door. As soon as I turned around, Fu Yan grabbed me, pinning me against the door. He traced his fingertips over my lips, gently pinching them, and said with self-mockery, Han Tang, you've been reborn too, haven't you? Otherwise, you wouldn't have come to me. He whispered in my ear, his breath warm but his tone chillingly cold. But Han Tang, I don't need your guilt. If you seek revenge, I won't stop you. But in this life, I won't be manipulated by you again. From now on, we go our separate ways and have nothing to do with each other. In the previous life, Fu Yan had always dragged his feet on agreeing to break off our engagement, but this night, just after I returned from the resort, my mother received a call from Aunt Fu saying he had agreed to the breakup. Aunt Fu even expressed her regret over the phone, saying, I really liked Tang. What a pity. I was sitting next to my mom at the time, feeling a mix of emotions. My mom gave me a sharp look and apologized to Aunt Fu. It's Han Tang who is unfortunate, not worthy of Fu Yan. After hanging up, my mom sighed, Tang, I don't even know what to say to you. That Shin Chen must have bewitched you to be so fixated on him. I touched the few strands of white hair at my mom's temples, content just to see her again. Mom, I'll listen to you and break up with Shin Chen. My mom was stunned, confirming it twice before she could believe her ears. She happily held my hand, saying, You have to trust your mom's judgment. Shin Chen is not the right one for you. I smiled bitterly. If only I had listened before, I wouldn't have ended up in such a state. But, is this really the end for me and Fu Yan? After the weekend, I returned to school. Shin Chen was waiting early at the entrance of the teaching building, waiting for me to finish class. Seeing me come out, he walked over and took my bag. Tang, I sent you many messages last night. Why didn't you reply? Pretending not to know, I replied. I went to sleep early, my phone was on silent. Shin Chen walked with me, trying a few times to hold my hand, but I avoided it each time. Finally unable to hold back, he pulled me aside and asked, Tang, did I do something wrong? Did I make you angry? You've been so cold to me lately. Almost like a different person, I looked at Shin Chen's face, full of grievance, as if he was truly devastated by his love for me. His expression reminded me of our past life when, after losing money in the stock market, he would come to me looking pitiful, seeking a bailout. A sudden thought crossed my mind, he loves money, doesn't he? This time, I'll let his greed be his downfall. Shin Chen, my parents don't approve of us being together, I said with a look of dejection. I've been really troubled about this lately. Shin Chen immediately tensed up. What should we do? Tang, I love you so much. If I can't marry you, what's the point of living? He played the victim, saying, I know I come from a small town, and your uncle and aunt think I'm not worthy of you, so, Shin Chen, you just need to show them that you can make money. I egged him on. You've been working and saving diligently these past few years and have saved up 30,000 yuan, right? I heard from a friend of my mom that there's a stock that's been doing really well recently, tripling in value in just a month. You could use that 30,000 yuan to invest in stocks and make a lot of money. Stock trading, Shinshin hesitated, but I don't know how. What if I lose all that 30,000 yuan? I encouraged him. I'm here, aren't I? What are you worried about? I'll help you get the inside scoop. My parents said if you can afford a house, they'll agree to our marriage after graduation. Shinshin, don't you want to marry me? I do, he said, more cunning than a monkey, agreeing eagerly. He'd rather risk losing the 30,000 yuan than lose me, his cash cow. Within just a few days, that 30,000 yuan tripled. Shinshin came to my dorm excitedly and hugged me. Tang Tang, you really are my lucky star. You know, I now have 90,000 yuan in my account. Back in our hometown, that could be a down payment for a house. He wanted to withdraw all the money. I quickly used his greed, advising him to make money work for money. I also pretended to regret. It's a pity, though, this money is still not enough. It's so hard to save up for a house. If only we had more money. After all, the stock market's rise is limited. We need to seize the time. I hinted to him that marrying me would mean inheriting my family's wealth, making it worth his while to take a risk. Shinshin immediately swore. Tang Tang, don't worry. I'll figure out the money issue, rest assured. I'll work hard to buy a house so we can get married. That night, as I got up to use the bathroom, I overheard Wang Man secretly taking a call. Shinshin was asking her for money. Use your brain. Once I marry her, all her Han family's wealth will be ours. Right. From their conversation, I learned. It turns out the car accident that Shinshin saved me from previously was prearranged by him. Wang Man had been cozying up to me since moving into the dorm, all to gain my trust and introduce me to Shinshin. From the start, they had their eyes on my family's money. Finally, Shinshin said, I'll send you my card number. Quickly transfer the money to me. I'll also borrow some high-interest loans, and once I make money, I'll pay you back double. I clenched my fists in anger, grinding my teeth. To live this life over, they owe me, and I will reclaim it all with interest. In the early hours, I lay in bed unable to sleep, while browsing on my phone. I saw a picture of Fu Yan on a friend's Facebook. The IP was from France. In the photo, he was standing with a beautiful woman. It appeared to be at a grand gathering. The event was splendidly decorated, with dazzling lights everywhere. I couldn't help but ask a friend about Fu Yan's recent situation. My friend teased me, saying, What, Miss Han, are you regretting calling off the engagement? Too late now though. The girl in the photo is a marriage prospect the Fu family has picked out for him. And I heard they are currently getting to know each other. He really did what he said he would, and from then on, we went our separate ways. It's for the best. A week later, a collegiate design competition was held in the province. In my past life, it was on the morning of this competition that I suddenly suffered from severe diarrhea. Wang Man took the design I had created and competed alone, winning first place but never mentioning me. Her excuse later was that she was too nervous at the time and became incoherent. Then she cried and apologized to me, but as a result, she gained fame and was immediately recruited by a top domestic design company upon graduation, transforming her life dramatically. After my tragic death, she and Shinshin became the envy of everyone as they soared high together. This morning, however, Wang Man tried the same trick again, handing me a cup of water laced with laxatives. Tan Tan, I heard you coughing last night. Drink some water to soothe your throat. You have to give a speech on stage later. I took the water without showing any reaction and smiled. Thank you. She lingered by my bed, wanting to see me drink it. I played dumb and asked her, What are you staring at? She nervously scratched her head. Oh, nothing. Just that the necklace on your neck is really pretty. I touched my necklace. Shinshin gave it to me. Wang Man's smile became unnatural for a few seconds. I'm going to wash up. While no one was looking, I poured the water she gave me into a flower pot and deliberately placed the empty cup on the table. When she came back from washing up and saw the empty cup, she was indeed pleased. Before leaving, I pretended to have a stomach ache and let Wang Man go ahead. Wang Man feigned concern for a few moments, then hurried off as if she couldn't wait to get away, fearing I might catch up. Little did she know that on this day, which she thought marked the beginning of her glory, it would actually be the start of her and Shinshin's descent into hell. I specifically arrived 2 minutes before I was due on stage for my speech. Wang Man, seeing me, jumped as if she had seen a ghost, her eyes instinctively dropping to my stomach. Tan Tan, you, I calmly smiled, My stomach is fine, it's almost our turn, right? She nodded dumbly. When I took the speech manuscript from her hands, she was reluctant to let go but forced a strained smile, making it quite comical. As the host called my name, Wang Man still held out hope and asked me, Tan Tan, are you really okay? It would be terrible if your stomach acted up on stage. Maybe I should. I cut her off. I'm fine. Under her reluctant gaze, I slowly walked onto the stage, capturing the attention of the entire audience. The design was something I had put a lot of thought into. Wang Man was merely an assistant. Had it not been for her family's poor circumstances and her sick father, I wouldn't have kindly included her in the credits, giving her an opportunity to shine. I had memorized the speech so well that I was the only contestant who spoke without a script. After the presentation, the audience applauded for me. One of the senior judges, Joan, a well-known designer in the industry and the same person who offered Wang Man an opportunity in my previous life, actively asked me, Han Tang, I really like your design, you are very talented, would you be interested in working at my company after graduation? I smiled gracefully, I would love to. I will reclaim the spotlight that Wang Man took from me. Everything was taken back. That evening, Shin Chen invited many friends and specifically booked a very expensive local restaurant to celebrate my championship victory. Ever since he started making money, he has been spending more lavishly, filling his wardrobe with brand-name clothes. Watching him give a toast at the dinner table, with his pretentious demeanor, I couldn't help but want to laugh. In his past life, he always pretended to be a frail scholar, eliciting sympathy from others. Now, he seemed like a nouveau riche, eager for the whole world to know that he was no longer poor, proudly raising his head high. This was good. The higher he climbed, the harder he would fall. Within my mind, I calculated that in less than a month, the stock he invested in would hit continuous limit downs. By then, all his money would be trapped. Not only would he and Wang Man be left with nothing, but the high-interest loans alone would be enough to ruin him. Wang Man sat next to me, barely speaking throughout the evening. I asked her, Man, what's wrong? She hesitated and then said, Tang, when you were giving your award acceptance speech today, why didn't you mention me at all? Even though I drew the design drafts, I also contributed. Didn't you say you would credit me? I took a sip of orange juice, mimicking her demeanor from her past life, and feigned realization. Oh, Man, it's all my fault. I was too excited when I received the award, and I spoke incoherently. I'm sorry. She had no choice but to act magnanimous. It's okay, I know it wasn't intentional, but, Tang, we are about to graduate, and I still haven't found a job. Today, you accepted an invitation from Joan, a top design firm in the country where countless people are vying to get in. So, when you go, could you take me with you? I inwardly sneered. Sure, just you wait. Wang Man immediately showed a delighted expression, thanking me profusely. Shin Chen, drunk, slung his arm around my shoulders. Singing and dancing like a crazed donkey, he said, Tang, wait until I buy a big house, we'll get married right away. Tang, you don't know how much I want to hurry up and bring you home. Tang, if our kids look like you, they'll definitely be very beautiful. Kids, I remembered the child who was 4 months old in my womb, kicked out by Shin Chen, and my heart felt as if it was being carved by a knife, amidst everyone's cheering. Shin Chen suddenly leaned in and kissed me fiercely on the face. I immediately pushed him away in disgust. Don't touch me. Shin Chen was stunned, so were the others. Wang Man stared at me incredulously, but fortunately, since Shin Chen was quite drunk and not very coherent, he thought I was just playing around and came over to hug me. Baby, are you mad that I drank? I'm sorry, I won't drink anymore, okay? I responded with a forced smile. You guys go ahead, I'll head to the restroom. I rushed into the restroom, immediately grabbed a piece of paper, wet it, and furiously scrubbed my face in the mirror. Even though my skin turned red, I still felt disgusted. Finally, frustrated, I threw the paper at the mirror. It took me a while to calm down. When I left the restroom and was walking back to the private room, I unexpectedly saw Fu Yan coming out from another corridor. He headed towards the elevator. It had been a long time since I last saw him, and his figure seemed even more slender from behind. I watched as he and his group entered the elevator one after another. On impulse, I followed and hurriedly pressed the button for the opposite elevator. When I reached the entrance, Fu Yan was seeing someone off to their car. When his Mercedes pulled up, he declined a ride, saying, I'd like to walk. You go ahead. 17, if you're going to put on a show, do it right. I sent a WeChat message to Wang Man. telling her I had to leave early due to a family emergency and asked her to look after Shenzhen. The night streets, adorned with colorful neon lights, were dreamlike. People passed by in pairs and groups, chatting and enjoying themselves comfortably. I secretly followed behind Fu Yan, keeping a cautious distance, watching him from afar through the crowd. Under the streetlight, his shadow stretched out long and looked so lonely. He stopped in front of an elderly woman sitting on the ground. Beside her sat a boy about 2 years old, in tattered clothes, with a dirty rice cracker in his mouth. Fu Yan took some money out of his wallet and gave it to her, buying all the handcrafted items made from yarn at her stall. The elderly woman was tearfully grateful, carrying the bag of crafts, which were of no use to him. Fu Yan continued walking. I hurriedly bought some food from a roadside stall. I ran up to the elderly woman, stuffed the warm food into her hands, and, patting the boy's head, said, "Little guy, make sure you take good care of your grandma when you grow up." The elderly woman kept thanking me, but when I turned around to look for Fu Yan, he had disappeared into the crowd. I panicked. It felt like losing a precious treasure as I looked around desperately. I accidentally bumped into a young couple. The girl's milk tea spilled all over me, and she quickly apologized. I shook my head. "It's okay. I should be the one apologizing." It wasn't until they walked away that I dejectedly lowered my head, looking at my disheveled self. Then a hand reached out, offering me a pack of tissues. I slowly looked up, following the hand up to meet Fu Yan's cold gaze. The city's noise faded into silence at that moment, and all the clamor seemed distant. In my eyes, there was only him. I stumbled over my words, and finally diverted the topic awkwardly. "What a coincidence, is it?" His gaze lingered on my face, his expression indifferent, yet his eyes intense. "Haven't you been following me all along?" Fu Yan stuffed the tissues into my hand and turned to leave. I blurted out in desperation, "Fu Yan, I have something to tell you." 18. We found a relatively quiet place. Fu Yan stood under the streetlight, his posture as straight as a pine tree. "What is it? Speak." I told him about my parents. When they were young, my mother had someone she liked but was forced into an arranged marriage with my father due to family reasons. Their marriage was not a happy one, they argued frequently, and it was common for my father to not come home for months. As a child, I envied other kids whose parents would attend school activities on family days, but my parents were always too busy, only sending the nanny instead. Throughout my childhood, they hardly cared for me. Yet they started imposing restrictions during my most rebellious teenage years. They would lecture me with principles I could barely understand, always demanding how I should be. I rebelled against them. The more displeased they were, the more I resisted. I felt a rush of joy at the thought of my decision. In my previous life, I loved Shinshin not only because he was such a good pretender, but also because he always did as I wished, especially when my parents found out and were strongly against us being together. I wanted to marry him even more. It was a sort of pathological revenge. Every time they argued, they would leave the house in a complete mess. I kept telling myself that I would never want to live that kind of life. "So Fu Yan, my refusal to enter into an arranged marriage isn't about you. It would be the same with anyone they chose for me. I would resist. I hate them controlling me, and I'm even more afraid of ending up in a marriage like theirs, seemingly perfect but devoid of real connection. I don't want my children to grow up in such an unhealthy family environment. But because of my stubbornness, I ended up with such a fate, dragging you down with me, losing your life, for which I am truly sorry. That apology is what I owe him. Everyone has been young and reckless. I long more than anyone to start over. Fu Yan, when I asked you the other day if you would still marry me, I meant it sincerely. It wasn't just out of guilt, but also because I don't want to miss out on you again." Fu Yan remained silent the whole time, quietly listening to me. The ground around his feet was littered with cigarette butts, his brow furrowed. After a long silence, Fu Yan flicked his last cigarette butt onto the ground and stubbed it out with the tip of his shoe. He looked up at me. "Are you done?" My hands clenched the fabric of my clothes because of his indifference. His gaze was calm and undisturbed. "Han Tang, I accept your apology, but that's all. I have things to do. I must go now. Goodbye." I watched his receding figure, tears sliding down unexpectedly. But now is not the time to be sad. The time left for me is running out. I need to quickly implement my plan. On the night of Shinchen's 23rd birthday, he had booked a hotel suite and planned to propose to me. It was Wang Man who took me there. The room was romantically and warmly decorated with pink balloons and petals scattered around, creating a sweet atmosphere. In the center, there was a bouquet of carefully selected roses. Their petals glittering softly under the light. Shin Chen, dressed in a suit looking proper and fitting, stood in front of the roses, holding a diamond ring, and knelt on one knee. Tang Tang, will you marry me? Facing his expectant eyes, I slowly walked over. Amidst everyone's blessings, I swung my hand and slapped him hard. The diamond ring fell from Shin Chen's hand, clattering to the floor. He held his half-turned face in disbelief. Looking at me, everyone else froze, hardly daring to breathe. My glare swept over Shin Chen and Wang Man as I demanded, when did you two get together? My question came out of nowhere. Shin Chen and Wang Man looked bewildered. They glanced at each other in shock before Shin Chen immediately grabbed my hand, pleading, Tang Tang, Wang Man and I are innocent. Don't listen to the gossip. They are just jealous. Wang Man also nervously explained, yes, Tang Tang, we're best friends. How could I? Before she could finish her sentence, I showed them the video on my phone. The video clearly showed them passionately kissing, which I had secretly filmed that night at the resort. Their faces turned pale as they stared at the screen on my phone. Panic was visibly in the air. Just an hour ago, someone posted a video of you two passionately kissing on the campus network. Now the whole school knows. I pretended to be heartbroken, my voice trembling. Shin Chen, Wang Man, how could you do this to me? I trusted you so much. Treated you so well, and this is how you repay me. Shin Chen tried to pull me back but I shrugged off his hand and slapped him again. Don't touch me. I glanced at the romantic setting in the room and said sarcastically, keep this marriage proposal for Wang Man, I'll give you my blessing. As I turned to leave, I dropped the facade of heartbreak and smirked coldly. Next, it would be a dog-eat-dog scenario for them. In fact, I had deliberately arranged for the kissing video to be uploaded today. Firstly, I knew about Shin Chen's plan to propose to me tonight, and I wanted to expose him and Wang Man publicly, shattering his dream. Secondly, the stock market is going to crash tomorrow, and I needed something significant to distract Shin Chen, keeping him from focusing on his stocks. By the time he realizes, his stocks will be trapped, and he will be ruined. Now, the whole school is cursing them as immoral. After tonight, they will be pointed at and talked about wherever they go, never to have a peaceful day again. It rained heavily that evening, and my other two roommates didn't come back. I didn't know what happened between Shin Chen and Wang Man. When Wang Man entered, she was drenched like a drowned rat and stormed up to me angrily. Han Tang, you did this on purpose, didn't you? You knew I was with Shin Chen all along, didn't you? I removed my face mask, looking at her innocently. Why are you so angry? Being the other woman, Wang Man, playing the victim first, accused me. Han Tang, I never saw it coming. You always acted like a good person, but you're so cunning. Now Shin Chen has completely turned against me. Are you happy? I smiled faintly. Happy? This is far from enough. Only then did Wang Man realize. So that morning of the competition, you knew I drugged your water. You pretended to give me hope, only to watch it dashed. You never planned to take me with you to work with Joan. Are you playing me? I spoke leisurely. Playing you? Why should I pick a day? Enraged and embarrassed, Wang Man lunged at me like a madwoman, but I slapped her back. She covered her face, her eyes wide as saucers. You dare hit me? I stepped forward, grabbed her by the collar, my gaze sharp as a knife. Hitting you is hardly satisfying, Wang Man. The show has just begun. Let's take it slow. As you can forgive me, I'll do anything. Just please don't ignore me. It's killing me. Until one day, when he came to me, he was fraught with anxiety. Tang Tang, what should we do? The money in stocks is almost gone. I've been so focused on you lately, I haven't been paying attention. What should I do? Tang Tang, can you help me? I borrowed so much from loan sharks. If I can't pay them back, they'll kill me. He even knelt down in front of me publicly, abandoning all his pride, pleading, Tang Tang, I did it all for you. You were the one who said that stock was a sure win, and that you'd marry me once I had enough money for a house. You can't just abandon me now. I looked down at Shin Chen kneeling before me, pitiful as a dog. But you also said, if you were ever unfaithful, you'd be struck by lightning. Yet here you are, still alive and well. It took a lot of effort to pull my hand from Shin Chen's grasp. Shin Chen, look into your heart and ask yourself, are you really doing all this just to marry me? Or is it for the money? You brought this on yourself with your greed, and you deserve it. Don't come looking for me again. Your current state disgusts me. Seeing me about to leave, he grabbed my arm unwillingly, his words carrying a sharp edge. Han Tang, do you really need to be so ruthless? Ruthless, I responded coldly. Shin Chen, compared to what you've done to me, I've been quite merciful." As I turned to leave, Shin threatened from behind, "Han Tang, even a cornered dog will jump over a wall, don't push me." Shin came looking for me a few times after that. I didn't even show him my face. I heard he got caught by the loan sharks and hasn't been seen at school for days. I don't even know if he's alive or dead. Sometime later, Wang Man suddenly drove a luxury car back to school to withdraw. Seeing her again, she seemed like a different person, dressed head to toe in designer brands. Even the bag she carried was worth tens of thousands. My roommate said Wang Man was being kept by someone. When I was leaving the cafeteria, Wang Man blocked my path. She stood before me, arrogant and removing her sunglasses with her red-painted nails. "Long time no see, Han Tang. I came specifically to thank you. If it weren't for what you did back then, forcing me to drop out, I would never have met my husband. What's the point of sticking with Shin Chen? That poor guy. Look at my life now, living in luxury. Don't be too jealous." I looked back at her. "Wang Man, do you enjoy being the mistress?" Wang Man just laughed carelessly. "What's wrong with being a mistress? He gives me money, lets me live in a mansion, and drive a luxury car. That's good enough for me. What's the point of clinging to a marriage certificate? My husband always says he and I are true love. He just met me too late. Besides, in love, the one who isn't loved is the real third party. In my view, that plain Jane is the real intruder in our relationship." Listening to her spouting nonsense, I finally understood why the ancients said that more words lead to disagreement. Wang Man provoked me. "By the way, Han Tang, I saw that wealthy fiancé you broke off your engagement with at a banquet recently. Fu Yan, right?" My heart felt like it was pricked. Her gaze sharpened, cutting towards her like the edge of a knife. Wang Man chuckled and said, "You know, he's quite handsome and successful, and I heard that he and his current fiancée have broken up. Do you think if I could win over Fu Yan, I'd really be marrying into a wealthy family?" I clenched my teeth secretly, my temples throbbing fiercely. "Stay away from him," I warned her. Wang Man raised an eyebrow, looking at me in surprise. "So, you care about him?" I tightened my grip on my hands. Before she left, Wang Man deliberately taunted me. Maybe the next time we meet, you'll have to call me Fu Yan's girlfriend." Wang Man's words echoed in my ears, disturbing my peace. I knew Fu Yan wasn't interested in her, but seeing Wang Man's crazed state last time, I feared she might do something drastic to get back at me and tarnish Fu Yan's reputation. I didn't want to drag him into this. After much hesitation, I decided to go see him. I lingered at the gate of his villa for a long time, lacking the courage to ring the doorbell. Hearing footsteps inside, I panicked and hid. Then I saw Fu Yan escorting a girl out. I recognized her immediately from a photo I had seen before. As she left, she turned to him and said, "Okay, stop here." Fu Yan, dressed in casual white attire with his hands casually tucked in his pockets, replied, "Have a safe trip." The girl, with a sweet smile, said, "Thanks for agreeing to the arranged marriage before. It gave me and Aylin time to prepare to go abroad. Otherwise, my mom would have been totally against it. When Aylin and I register our marriage abroad, you're welcome to attend." Fu Yan chuckled softly. "Sure, I wish you happiness." They hugged politely and said their goodbyes. The girl got into her car. Before driving away, she rolled down her window and said to Fu Yan, "Hey, I saw the photo of the girl you've hidden in your phone. She's beautiful and suits you well." Fu Yan, love isn't something that waits. If you truly can't let go, why not try giving each other another chance? You've got to be strong. As the car drove away, disappearing into the distance, Fu Yan turned to go inside. I called out to him, "Fu Yan." He paused and looked back, instinctively glancing in the direction the car had disappeared, seemingly judging whether I had heard their conversation. I approached him and disclosed everything about Wang Man. "I know you don't like her. I just wanted to warn you to be careful. She's ruthless, and I don't want you to get involved." Fu Yan's voice lowered as he asked, "Did you come all this way just to tell me this?" I nodded. After a long silence, he didn't speak again. I pursed my lips. "That's all. I'm leaving. Goodbye." I didn't know how far I had walked when suddenly Fu Yan called out, "Han Tang." Joy surged in my heart, and I immediately turned to look at him. His dark eyes brimmed with light, as if a handful of stardust had settled in them. "Shin Chen is being chased by debt collectors. He's a ruthless man. Be careful." Was he showing concern for me? He had been keeping an eye on me all this time. My eyes nearly welled up with tears as I smiled and said, "I know." I refused to let Wang Man act recklessly, so I paid someone to follow her and took many photos of her with a middle-aged man entering hotels and being intimate in public. then anonymously sent them to his wife. Before long, the wife caught them and pinned her down on the hotel bed. The man, looking out for himself, claimed that it was one man who seduced him. As expected, that's the typical excuse of a scoundrel. But the wife wasn't someone to be trifled with. She gathered some friends, stripped one man naked, and threw her into the street where passers-by took photos and videos that ended up online. She even hired someone to drive one man out of town, banning her from returning. 25. After dealing with one man's situation, I started to get busy with my graduation thesis. That evening, Joan suddenly invited me out to dinner to discuss job opportunities after graduation. We had a great time talking. She had drunk a bit too much to drive. I called a ride for her and watched until her car had left. Then I took a ride back to school. After getting out of the car, I went to a supermarket and bought some yogurt. As I was walking back to school, Fu Yan suddenly appeared. He quickly put his arm around my shoulders and pulled me close, whispering, "Don't make a sound, Shen Chen is following us." I had a bad feeling about this. Fu Yan, holding me close, hurried towards the school, whispering, "Shen Chen has been following you all night. I'm worried he might hurt you." I couldn't help but remember Shen Chen's hideous expression the night he set fire to kill me in my previous life. But Fu Yan's presence now meant he was being dragged into this too. Just as I was about to tell him to leave, Shen Chen, who had been following us, suddenly called out, "Han Tang." I stopped in my tracks. That voice, that tone, it was just like that night. Shen Chen seemed intent on killing. As I turned around, I instinctively stepped in front of Fu Yan. Fearing Shen Chen would harm him, Shen Chen took off his hat and mask and threw them to the ground. He pointed at Fu Yan behind me and shouted, "You dumped me for him. Is it because he's richer and more powerful? Right, Han Tang, so you're just a vain and greedy bitch. You've ruined me, and now you're living carefree with someone else." As Shen Chen spoke, his eyes met Fu Yan's, and a fierce battle of anger ensued. Fu Yan shielded me behind him, using his tall frame as a barrier. "Shen Chen, I've already called the police. Don't do anything stupid." "Police? Ha, you think I'm scared?" Shen Chen's gaze shifted past Fu Yan, aiming directly at me. "Han Tang, Wang Man told me everything before she left. You've been setting us up from the start. You never intended to marry me. You used my desire to marry you to drive me to this point. You're playing me. You've driven me into debt, and now you want to kick me aside. There's no such thing as a free lunch. I'd rather die than let you get away with this." Sirens could be heard in the distance. The flashing red and blue lights illuminated the darkness around us and shone on Shen Chen's face. The next second, he pulled a fruit knife from his bag and, gritting his teeth, charged at us, shouting, "Han Tang, go to hell." The distance was too close. Shen Chen seemed crazed. Fu Yan and I barely had time to react. Without thinking, Fu Yan turned and embraced me, but I couldn't let him be harmed. At the moment Shen Chen lunged with his knife, I gathered all my strength and pushed Fu Yan away. Shen Chen's knife plunged into my abdomen. He grabbed my shoulders and viciously twisted the knife deeper. "Han Tang, go to die. Just die." It felt like a tremendous force was tearing inside me. It hurt, it was painful. Shen Chen was only released when a police officer shot him in the head. His blood splattered on my face. I watched as he fell backwards, his body twitching on the ground. Once he was confirmed dead, the force that had been sustaining me inside collapsed. Fu Yan rushed over, caught my falling body, and held me tightly, his eyes misting over. The alarm bells were incessant. I saw people running this way. They surrounded Shen Chen, guns pointed at him. Someone else was calling for an ambulance, and there I was, quietly lying in Fu Yan's arms, lifting my blood-stained hand to gently touch his face, smiling with acceptance. "It's good that it wasn't you, this time. Let's say I saved you, one life for another. Are we even now?" Fu Yan gripped my hand tightly, his voice strained and hoarse. "Han Tang, you owe me far more than just one life. I want you to live well, to make it up to me. Do you hear?" I vomited blood, tears flowing uncontrollably. "Fu Yan, I'm sorry, I've let you down. I truly regret it. If there really is a next life, I'll be the one to fall for you first." 26. My life was not long. My soul drifted from my body, and my past flashed before my eyes like a carousel. It turns out that the first time I met Fu Yan, it wasn't his first time seeing me. It turns out that he was the one who initiated our engagement, which is why Aunt Fu arranged to meet my mother. It turns out that on the day I married Shen Chen, Fu Yan was there, watching me from the shadows, and quietly left before the lights came on after the ceremony. It turns out he had already bought a wedding ring and threw it into a trash bin after leaving the wedding venue. It turns out he had fallen for me back when I was a freshman volunteering as a caregiver in the nursing home, so early on. It turns out I hurt him deeply. 27. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day I first met Fu Yan. The reserved man sat across from me, and Fu watched me with a constant smile. After exchanging glances with my mom, she turned to me and said, "Tang Tang. You don't know how outstanding Fu Yan is," she went on and on, sounding almost like a matchmaker.